suppose all the parties... Good morning, Andrew.
Morning, Declan.
Good morning. So, what's going on, as we'd like to know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody has a right to know what's going on. We had the Dáil sat yesterday for various bits of business, but then we had a parliamentary party meeting yesterday evening, and Simon Comey in particular outlined what discussions are going on with the various groups. I think there was a statement issued shortly before that by the 5 rural-based TDs who issued a statement, said that they would negotiate. They figured that Fine Gael were more serious about it, and shortly after that, another Matty McGrath came on and said I think they were meeting both Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil this morning. So there's a lot of talks about how a group, a rainbow, whatever you want to call it, coalition can be agreed, and how many numbers can be got, but it's still going to fall short of a majority, no matter what the figures are. There's only 2, if not maybe 3 combinations that get you to an overall majority with simply I mean by with simple figures, like, and that's Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and Sinn Fein, which I don't think is going to happen, and that doesn't even get you to the 79, or Fianna Fáil, Sinn Fein and others, and all of those are different hues of a rainbow, I suppose, except for the coalition one of the 2 big parties. You know, that's the only one on arithmetic that gets past the 79, 80 figure anyway, you know.
What would you think of, sharing power with Fianna Fáil?
Well, I think I heard, I think it was Mick Barry or someone last night saying that the public voted for change, and change, but I mean, it certainly would be a change if Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael came together. It is hard to see a stable, durable programme for government being put together unless there's some form of an agreement with Fianna Fáil and between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. In my opinion, we can have put together a rainbow minority government, but at the same time, unless there's some degree of support or abstinence or whatever that they agree to a programme, and it's about budgets. Let's be honest about it. It's about budgets. It's about the main issues are tackling homeless, that's the housing issue, tackling the health service, childcare, and now security. I suppose we had crime, but now we have another dimension to security, which has become all too apparent in the last 24 hours, 48 hours. So all of those things are going to be, pretty high on the agenda when it comes to getting a programme for government together.
So do you see it as approaching it from the programme for government first and then see who signs up for it?
Well, I think that's what's going on at the moment, is like the principles of establishing a government, what can be agreed, what in general are the main areas that need to be addressed in the next programme for government, be it for 3 or 5 years or whatever. And that's the critical thing. I mean, that's what governments do. But in my opinion, it's still an opportunity because of the numbers. It's still an opportunity for the Dáil Parliament to hold the cabinet or the government of the day to account. And I think this is an opportunity that shouldn't be missed. I made that point the day of the County Cork election, that this, to me, in my opinion anyway, the way the numbers have broken down gives us an opportunity to make the cabinet, the government, accountable to the Dáil, and not the other way around, not the other to be a servant of the government,
Yeah. There'll be the vote on April the 6th for Taoiseach, and that really, decides the impetus.
Yeah, that will decide the impetus. I think it's I think what's going on now is really to see how many of the various different groups are prepared to vote for, the 2 main contenders, let's be honest, are Enda Kenny and Micheál Martin. And after that, when that vote has taken place, then there will be, I would say, very intensive discussions. The preparatory work will probably have been done. And I'm not completely up to speed, these things have their own way of being conducted. But in my opinion, what will happen is that's when the negotiations for a final agreement on just putting government in place will actually will take place, and within a week of that, that's when we'll have, I think, people going out to the park for their seals of office.
Right, got to be a particular rainbow, wouldn't it? But that's the way the people have voted, though. That's the thing.
Well, I mean, it works in other countries. I mean, we have a very inconclusive, totally unsatisfactory position in Spain at the moment. And like, when the people vote. And I mean, there's no point in going back at this stage, in my opinion, for a second opinion, because we'll be told that's what we voted for. Go ahead and do the job.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. If decided that, this was inconclusive, we have to go back to another election, you could only be asked legitimately on your performance over the 30-second Dáil. So what have you done in your 2 days that you've turned up? And you wouldn't talk about anything else.
You couldn't. The only thing, I mean, okay, there were statements, and yesterday was sort of overshadowed by the whole two tragedies, the one here in Buncrana and the one in Brussels, the whole terrorist attack. So it sort of occluded everything else. But with the exception of the new way in which the Count Corla was announced, which is minor unless everything else follows, there has been no work done. You couldn't ask anybody to judge the performance of any of us. None of us, like without exception, I think. It certainly would be, I think, completely foolish to go back to the public again until at least one budget, and ideally 3 or to 5 are put in place, and we see what's happening with the state of the nation. I mean, that's what your governments and parliaments are there to do.
Right. So next week, anyway.
Sorry, next week it's 2 weeks, I think, isn't it?
2 weeks, is it?
Next week is Easter week.
Yeah, it's a long old month, isn't it?
This is Holy Week and Easter week. These probably there'll be a lot of people in the various different rooms having discussions, I think, over the next 2 weeks. But certainly, I made the point yesterday at our meeting that we, as a parliamentary party, need to meet in advance of the 6th of April before that election takes place, so we know what's going on as well. It's important that all people in various groupings and parties would actually be kept fully appraised.
Right. Okay. Thanks for the update, Andrew.
All right.
Good morning to you. Thank you.
Bye, Dick.
Bye-bye. That's Deputy Andrew Doyle Fine Gael there, just to see what's going on. Looks like they're inching slowly towards something. What'll it be? Well, I don't know, but Fine Gael are making the running at the moment. I suppose they have to because they've got the most seats at 50, but it's a little way off that 79 they need, unless they get less than that, but they get odds and winks of support or abstentions or whatever from the others to get them over the line with some of that legislation. Anyway, whatever you think, let's know. 087 77 11 103 is our